Hello everyone, I'm Zishan Shah and welcome to Zinteractive. Yes, we did it. So this is our last lesson of Maya 2020 Essentials. So in this lesson 13, we will learn how to animate in Maya. So let's rock and roll and also celebrate. I just wanna celebrate. Now as we have gone through different lessons, we will now jump into our last lesson, which is about the animation. Let's see how we can animate in Maya. Animating in Maya is pretty much straightforward and it's very interesting. Maya is a very strong software when it comes to animation. So we will see how we can animate in Maya. First, we will see the interface of animation in Maya, and then we will move to different topics of animation. Now if you will see on the screen, we have here a timeline at the bottom. This is pretty much where you will be working while you're animating. Other than that, we will be working on channel box also. So here we will see one by one what are these things. If I will select my object which I want to animate, okay, so it will be highlighted and that can be animated through this area. This timeline you will see over here is pretty much the same as you will see in different other applications. This is basically a simple timeline on which you can drag through from frame 1 to frame 120, and while you are scrubbing through this timeline, you will be playing your animation faster or slower. If you're moving faster, it will play faster. If you're moving slower, it will play slower. Other than that, here you have the time indicator here and a scroll bar. Now here in the time indicator here, you have two different kind of options over here. The outer one is basically your whole time length. So this one says my animation completes from frame 1 till frame 200. So my total length of animation is from 1 to 200. Okay. The inner one are basically what you're looking at right now on the timeline. Okay. Like from 1 to frame 120, we are looking at it. So here you can see it starts from 1 and ends at 120. So basically this is only showing from frame 1 to 120 out of 1 to 200. Okay, here is your you can say a scroll bar. You can move this scroll bar. So if you will move the scroll bar, so it will move between this 1 and 120. Suppose if I move, notice that what is happening over here in the timeline. So now I'm moving. Okay, so I'm now at 20 to something around 139. Then I can move till the end. So here I can scroll between the times from 1 to whatever we want out of the total, which is 1 to 200. This also acts as a zooming in and zooming out tool. If I squeeze it, so basically it zooms in, and if I stretch out, then it zooms out. So I don't want to keep it everything over here, so I will make it quite smaller so it will become easier for me to work. Okay, always try to keep it little smaller so it will become easier for you to work on. Otherwise, if you have a lot of frames over here, if you stretch it, so that means you are zoomed out, so your work operation will become a little bit clustered because you are working on all the frames at the same time, and it will be a little bit hard to work on. So always try to keep it smaller so you zoom in. Okay, and when you are zoomed in, so you don't have to work on all the frames at the same time. So I will keep it from 1 to 50, something like from here you can say 1 to 50. I can type here as well, so that I will not have a lot of clustered keyframes over here. It will become easier for me to work now. Other important thing here is the animation layer. Right now we don't have any animation layer, so it says no animation layer. Otherwise you can create as many animation layers you want. Like one animation layer you can create for rotation, one animation layer you can make for jumping around, and if you have a character, you can make a character set, or you can have more animation layers, so it will become easier for you to work. On top over here, beside the timeline, we have here the like the play button and the rewind and the forward button. Okay, suppose I have my animation over here. Okay, let me deselect it. So if I will select it back, so you can see I have these red color keyframes. So if I scrub through, you can see how the animation is working. Okay, now how to play? You just simply, if you want to play forward, you have to play just press for a play forward button, so it will play just like this. So animation is quite short, so that's why it's playing very fast. Okay, I can stop it, and if I want to play backward, so I can press this, so it will go backward. Okay, so this is how you can animate backward and forward from here. Other than that, we have here, which is basically step back one key. Step back one key and step forward one key is what? Suppose if I am in the beginning of my animation, and if I want to jump to this keyframe, which is on number 5, these red lines, if you will see, these are the keyframes. We will get back to these keyframes in the next part. Okay, so don't worry about this. So if I press this button over here, if you will see, it will directly jump to the next keyframe. If I will press it again, so it will jump directly to the next keyframe. Okay, so I don't have to manually scrub and then go to that keyframe. Okay, so this is for going forward, and this is to go backward. Next to that, this button is basically step one frame forward or backward. So if I keep on pressing this, so one frame it will go forward, and this will take it to one frame backward. These two are for the end of the animation, like you can see here. I'm here in the end. Okay, number 50. If I press this one, I will be in the beginning of the animation. So this is pretty much how you can play and forward and rewind with these. Other than that, here you have the frame per second frame rate. Okay, so right now we are in 24 frame per second, so you can change it to whatever you want, but I will keep it as it is. I don't want to change, so I will keep it whatever it is, which is 24 frame per second. Okay, here we have a playing option. Right now we are in the continuous loop, so if I will press play button, so you will see that the animation is in a loop form. So it is keep on playing and then keep on, and when it ends, it plays again. It ends and plays again. Okay, other than that, we have here other option. If I press one time, you can see now I'm in the play once option. So that's why you can see here the small tiny number 1 written. So if I press play, so it will play only once. Now if I will press this button again, now I'm in oscillating loop. What is the oscillating loop? It goes to the end of the frame and then it plays backward, then plays forward, then back, then forward. Okay, just like this. It goes back and forward, backward, forward, backward. So that's what it pretty much do. Okay, so if I press again, now I'm back to continuous loop. Okay, so this is how you can play from here. Next to here, you have the cache playback toggle. Okay, it's basically if your cache is on, one time you will play, it will be slower maybe, but next time when you will play, because it will be in the cache, so it will play smoothly. It will not stop or it will not lag. Okay, then if you have audio, so you have this audio button over here. Then here, this is the auto keyframe toggle on and off. So we will get to this option later on. Here is the most important thing right now, which is the animation preferences. What is the animation preferences? If you click on it, it will give you the animation like setting. Okay, now let's see, let's go through this one by one. Here we have the first setting for the time slider, which is like this thing is the time slider basically. Okay, let me make it a little bigger so you can see the whole settings here. Now, right now we are in 24 frames per second, so we can change from here whatever we want, or from here, so it's up to you. Okay, we have two options here: keep keys at current frames, round time changes to whole value. So keep keys at current frame is, if I will check it, so wherever I am, okay, my animation will start from there, or it will stay over there. Otherwise, if it is not on, it will go back to the starting position and start playing. Okay. Now on this one, round time ranges to whole values. What it do is that it can just calculate the average and give you the average. So you don't have to worry much too much about these values. So sometimes it works, sometimes you don't need to work on it. Playback, start and end. This is the same thing which is here, okay, or this inner fields. Animation start and end. This is the total length of your animation, which is this outward. Okay, so we have this. Now grease pencil frames, so we will see that later on, and like once we'll move to grease pencil. Now here we have the key ticks. What are the key ticks? These red lines you will see are the key ticks. These are the keyframes. So right now it is active. If you want to see them, if you don't want to see, you can press none, so they will be gone. You can see that. Or you don't want to see, you can check them in the channel box. Okay, because actually if you let me go back to active, if you will notice here, my first keyframe here is on number 1. So as soon as I go there, okay, and my aeroplane is selected, you will notice that all of these translation, rotation and scale, everything in the channel boxes have red marks. Okay, this means all of them have a keyframe on number 1. If I move a little bit forward, you will see that now I'm not on that keyframe. I'm somewhere else where there is no keyframe. So this will turn into pink. Pink means there is no keyframe wherever you are right now. Okay. Now if I will go to number 5, in number 5, only Y frame is red. Rest of the others are basically pink. That means here only Y translation is affecting, and rest of the others are not affecting. There is no change in the others. Okay, so pretty much this tells you about what is going on as in terms of the translation, rotation and scale. Okay, so if I go to 14, you can still see there is no change in x-axis or other ones. Okay, now if I will go to frame 20, you will see the Y is pretty much pink, so there is no change in Y-axis at frame 20. The only thing that have changed is Z-axis, because Z-axis is changed in frame number 1 and Z-axis is changed at frame number 20, because it was here in frame number 1, now on 20 it is here. That's why on 20 you will see the final frame, the final value of your keyframe of the Z-axis. So this is, I hope you have understood about the like channels here. So if you don't want to see these keyframe and only you want to work with the channels, so you can keep on the channel box. So the channel box will be your main like setting. So when you are moving around, you will not see keyframe here. But if you're scrubbing and you see somewhere you have this red box, that means there is a keyframe there. But it is a little hard, so we will keep it active. Then we have one more option, which is quite new in Maya 2020. Okay, so it actually gives you smart values also, like where it has been changed, how it can you can update it, and when you are doing some change, it gives you some tips. Okay, so that you can do that, but I will keep it normal as active. Now here is the key tick size. Right now we have 1x, that means it is quite thinner, a little hard to see. If you want more thicker, you can go to 2. You can notice that it's becoming thicker. If I will make it 3, it will become more thicker. 4, a little bit more. 5, a little more. I want to keep it till 5 because it will be more easier for me to work on it if it is thicker. Otherwise, if it is thin, it's a little hard to work. So I will keep it 5. Time display, right now I'm able to see frames, number of frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 till 20. But I don't know how many seconds from 1 to 20 frames are. So you can, instead of frames, use time code. So if I will choose time code, you will see that now it tells me that I am right now on 14 nanoseconds. The first is hour, then minute, then seconds, And the last one is basically nanoseconds, like seconds of seconds, you can say that. Okay, so if I will go to the last one, you can see that it is 2 seconds and 2 nanoseconds. So this will be quite handy if you want to work in the time manner. So because it will give you accurate value on which the time stamp you are on. Okay, but I will keep it frames so that because it's more clean for me while working on that. Okay, now channel box sync selection in graph editor, sync timeline display. So basically you can sync them, but you don't need to sync them. Means like it will whatever you will see over here, this, like the changes, you will see the same changes in the graph editor. So when we will move to graph editor, you will understand what I was like talking about. Okay, so auto snap keys means if it is turned on and if I'm moving my my options like my slider, so automatically it will snap to it. Okay, just like you do snapping for the rotation and other thing. Okay, now then we have here playback option. So playback option is the same thing here. You want to play every frame, or right now we are in the we are playing every frame, so that's why you can see that it's quite faster. Okay, now if I will change it to from every frame to 20 frame per second by 1, so it will be quite different. So you can see that it's quite smoother, and I will be able to see a nice animation going on. Okay, so I will keep it as it is, I will keep it at 24 by 1. If you want to play slower, you can make it 0.5 if you want. So I can keep it 24 frame per second into 0.5, so it will be more slower. But this is not a realistic animation. If you want to make faster, then by 2. But I will keep it by 1. So hopefully you have understood about this. If everything is done, you are satisfied with it, just press save button. Okay, and then you can see that how the animation is working. Okay, works quite more smoothly as we have changed the playback rate. Okay. Now let's see how to animate in Maya. As we already know about what are the how the keyframes works and where is the options and all those. Now as you know how the settings are being done related to Maya animation and how you can play back and how you can change some of that stuff. So let's animate this aeroplane. We will do a simple animation, and then we will see how we can work through that animation, how we can manipulate our keyframes and other stuff. So I will select my aeroplane here. Now I have two options to start animate. One is setting up manual keyframes, and other is the auto keyframes. Let's see first the manual keyframe. So now when I'm inside the Maya and I have selected my object, so I have to make sure I'm on my starting frame from where I want to start the animation. So what I need to do is that to create a keyframe, I have to either press S on my keyboard, S for set. So I will press S on my keyboard, and you will notice that all of them will be turned red, and here everything here you can see the keyframe, which is a red tick here. Or let me undo this. Or what I can do is that instead of pressing S on my keyboard, I can go on the top of my options and I can press the key. But you have to make sure you are using the animation mode over here. So now in the key, I have here set key, and you can see here I have number I have letter S over here, which means like if you press S, it will create a key. So when you press S, it creates the key for all of these: translation XYZ, rotate XYZ, scale XYZ, and visibility. But if you don't want to set the key for all of these, then you have set key for translate separately, you have set key for rotate separately, set key on scale separately. So you can use these as well if you want. But for this animation, we don't want that. Usually you keep a set key for all of them, and maybe next time if you're and changing, so it will be like quite helpful. So I will press this button and you will see the same thing happen here. Now I have to move my slider. Okay, maybe I want the animation something around 45 frames long. So I will go to 45 and I will move this to z-axis. I can move manually from here, okay, or I can select z-axis here and then scrub with my middle mouse button on this viewport right now. So just like that. Now I just went I just pressed on 45 and I moved my object. Now see what happens if I move, if I scrub through this timeline and go to some other part. It jumps back to its normal position where it was before, the original position. The reason is that because whenever you move any object, you have to make sure, if you want to animate, you have to set a key. Okay, so you have to go and set a key. So in order to animate this, I have to set a key for this. I have to move it and then press S on my keyboard. Now if I scrub through, you can see that my animation is now working fine. Okay, so this is how you can animate with manual keyframes. Okay, so you can see that all of them are red and all of them are red over here. Okay, now once you have the keyframes, how you can delete them? To simply delete them, you can right click on the keyframe and select the delete and press the delete button. Okay, and here as well I can click over here, right click and delete. Okay, so this is how you can delete it. Let me push it back because I deleted the first one and then I deleted the last one. That's why it was showing me that it was here. Okay, now I don't have any kind of animation. So what you need to do, you have to click on that keyframe, right click and delete. That's all what you need to do. Okay, now let's see how we can animate with the help of the auto key. So when I turn on the auto key, I don't have to make keyframes all the time by pressing S or by going to the key and pressing set key or any one of these. However, initially when you are starting the animation, you do have to press S or create a set key even if you're using a auto key, only for the first frame. Next of the other frames, like you don't have to press S key, automatically they will be done. Okay, if I press S now, okay, I have my keyframe here. Now let's move to frame 45 and now notice my auto key is on from here, and now if I will move my aeroplane, I didn't press any S or I didn't went to the key and add it. Automatically the key is being made. Now I can go at any part of the middle, like suppose I want the aeroplane to go up in the sky. So you can see that as I moved it up, automatically the key was made. So now you can see that how it is done. Okay, I can move this one down here. Okay, so you can see that how it works. Okay, so different other kind of things I can do. I can move it more down on 31. Okay, so you can see how the animation is now working. Okay, so if I will play it, so it works like this. Now let me select it. Now suppose I don't like this one. So simple, what I told you, you have to just click here, right click and delete, and whatever keyframe is here, it will be deleted. However, you can repeat or copy paste any kind of keyframe as well. Like suppose I want this aeroplane to stay still from frame 20 till frame 30. So what I need to do then is that I have to copy keyframe 20 to the frame 30. So this keyframe 20, if it will be copied at frame 30, it will depicts that the aeroplane is still in the air. It will it will kind of mimic that it is in the air and it's not moving. So let's do that. So I have to first select it. To select it, if you will try to drag over it, just like you draw a marquee tool. So you will not be able to do that over here. Okay. To select it, you have to press Shift key, then drag over it. So when you're dragging over it, you can see that it is getting like a red selection is coming over it. That means now it is being selected. Okay. So either I can select it, or because it's only one keyframe, so I don't have to literally do this. I can just simply go at 20, right click on it and copy. Okay, then I can go to the frame 30, and then I can go right click and I can go to paste and then paste. Okay, now 20 and 30, it is like kind of same. Okay, so still it is moving. The reason it is moving is that because my z-axis is moving. So you can notice that at 20 the y-axis is copied, and 30 the y-axis is only copied. So z is not copied basically. Okay, so that we can see we will see more later on when we will move to curve editor. We will see how we can do that. Okay, so this is simply how you can cut, copy and paste and delete your keyframes. Now suppose if my animation from 1 to 45 is too long, so what I can do here is that I can press Shift key on my keyboard and select and drag over this timeline, and you will see all of the keyframes are selected. As they are turned yellow means they are selected, and this red bar over it means like they are in the selection. Once you do the selection, you will notice that here you have two arrows and inside the selection, and then there are two outside the selection. This one is not showing because it is in the beginning. So in the beginning usually you don't see the selection, maybe like in the middle somewhere or at the end. In the end at 46 you will see here that there is a like a small arrow here. Now what is this? If I will click on this arrow and start dragging, you can see that it is squeezing my keyframe. That means if you squeeze your keyframe, your animation will become faster. So if I will play, you can see now it is faster than before. If I would drag it outwards, you can see that now it is slower. Okay, so this is how you can make the animation slow or fast. Or what I can do is that I can go in this middle part, okay, and drag this animation. So now my animation is not starting from frame 1. Now my animation is starting from frame 17. You just notice from 1 till frame 17 nothing is happening, and as soon as I move to 17 then it starts animating. Okay, so this is how you can do that. Or if I want to move it, I cannot select and move this one. I have to press Shift and then drag over it. Then I can only move it and move it back. Now suppose I want to drag these two and move it back where it was. So press Shift key here and select them just like this and move it wherever you want. Or these two, I can squeeze it or I can stretch it. So you can do that in between of any keyframe. Okay. So this is how you can manipulate keyframe. You can move around with keyframe. You can delete. You can copy paste. You can like squeeze them, stretch them. So if you want a faster animation, squeeze the keyframe, and slower animation, then stretch the keyframes. You can move around the keyframes if you don't want them to be on the locations where they are right now. So I hope you have understood about the keyframe settings and the manipulation of it. Now let's work on the graph editor. Basically, graph editor is a main window that you will be using while working on the animation. So you will be using it a lot because it gives you a lot of like different nice options, and it's a very professional tool, and most of the animators, they work highly on the graph editor. So we have this scene in which this aeroplane is moving upwards and then it goes down. So if I select the aeroplane here, you can see that at frame 1 it is down, at frame 24 it goes up, then 45 it comes down also again. Okay, so this is how like things are working here. Now one more thing I can do here, simple, is that I can go in the middle of this frame 24, press E key for the rotation, and I can rotate this somewhere like this. Okay, so if you will notice that it will start from frame 1 normally, then it goes up, but it also rotates. And notice now it's not only translate Y, there is rotate Z also. Then it goes back to its normal, okay? But usually on the last frames, you might have to manually change it, okay? So this you can avoid if you are using like a manual like set key, okay? In auto key, you have this bug, so you do have to change every time you go to the last frame, okay? So here we have this, and it quite works like this, okay? So now let's see the graph editor. To see the graph editor, we have to go to the window, then animation editor, and then graph editor. Now inside the graph editor, you will see all these like keyframes and everything, and these trajectories here, these curves. If you cannot see it, just press F on your keyboard, so it will move all of them into one frame, okay? So right now for me it is visible, so I can zoom in and zoom out by using the same key I use on the viewport, okay, or mouse scroll button. Now let's see all of them one by one, because at the first when you open it up, it's quite overwhelming because there are so many things. But if you will go one by one to different options here, it will not be too harsh, okay? Now here we have same thing that we have in the channel box, okay? So let's go to the translate X. Now if we will go to translate X, we will not see anything. The reason is that because X-axis, translate X is not animating at all. But if I were to translate Y, you will see that there is a curve here. Now basically what is this curve, okay? So let me move this curve like somewhere here, so you can easily see my screen also, and this animation, okay? Okay, now if you will notice that this is the aeroplane, and it moves from frame 1 to 45 and it ends, and 24 it kind of rotates and goes up. So if I will go to 1, you will notice that right now I am at 0 value in the beginning. I'm at frame 1. You can see that in graph editor it shows you frame 1, okay? And then the Y value and this X value is all 0. This is basically Y value. So Y value is also 0 and X value is also 0, because you can see a flat line here, okay? Now as I'm moving, so you can move either from here or here, it is the same thing. When I reach to frame 24, you will see that it is quite going up, up and up, okay? So this is basically the height of your aeroplane. Right now I'm somewhere at 350. So if I will go to the channel box, okay, and see the Y value here, it is around the same thing, because here it is giving like fine value with the points. Here it just shows you a like a roll of the like value, okay? So it's the same thing of your Y axis. So here it is going that much up. Now if I will go to frame, the last one, which is frame 45, you can see that it's not exactly the same as I started. It is lower than that. So where it starts, it ends lower than that. So it went more down than it were this frame 1. Okay, it's more lower than where it was in the beginning. So you can adjust these. Suppose if I will go over here, okay, and if I click on this keyframe on the curve editor, I can move it down. And when I'm moving it down, you can see that it's moving down as well over here. So now it is not going that high, okay? But I don't want that. I want to keep it somewhere here, okay? And then almost where I was before. Now, if you will notice that I can move this. Now this is basically translate Y. Means this is the Y axis, the position, not rotation, not scale, the position, the translation, okay? here at frame 24, you can see there is a keyframe. Now this keyframe is basically for what? This keyframe is basically for Y, translate, and also rotate Z. Okay, so this is not one keyframe, this is two keyframes on top of each other. So if I will go to translate Y, this keyframe here, if I move it, okay, just notice what happens in the timeline. I moved it to 10. Now here is the y-axis, like the y-axis. So if I will go to now my frame 1 and move, so as it reaches to frame 10, it moves up, and then when I move to the last frame, it is coming downwards. But still you can see there is a keyframe at 24. Now this keyframe at 24, it's not for the translation Y. This is for the rotate Z axis. Okay, so that's why now you know that there were two keyframes on top of each other. Now if I want to move around single keyframes, like I want to move translate Y to a separate area and rotate Z to separate, I cannot do that here in this timeline. I can do it here easily in the graph editor. So that's why the graph editor is very strong tool. Now one more thing I can do here is that, suppose let's go back where it was before. Okay, so I was on 24 frame, I will go to 24 and I will move it back. Now I'm on 24 again. Now I want to add the same thing here, okay, as on 30. So I want to mimic that. This is like basically not moving forward, okay, it is staying as it is. Okay, so that can be done in translate Z. Why? Because translate Z is basically the one that is moving forward. Okay, and when I move to translate Z, so the frame that you see over here are basically for translate Z. So there are only two frames for translate Z. One is on frame 1 and other is from 45. Okay, so it starts at this position, like this value, okay, which is basically minus 1200, which is minus 1200, this value, and when it moves, this is the value which is around 1400. So from here to here it is moving. Okay, so this value is basically the straight movement value from here to here. It's not any value which is of Y or X. Okay, so now suppose if I'm on 20, okay, I want this to stay at this stage, okay, and I don't want it to move. So what I can do is that at frame 20, I have to go here, and from here I can right click, okay, copy, then I can go to 30. Okay, you can see that it moved to 30. Here I can paste. Now you can see that there is a like a keyframe here as on the same height, okay, and on the same level. So that means if I will go to frame 1, and as soon I will reach here at frame 20, then between 20 to 30 it's not moving, it's only rotating because we didn't change anything for the rotation, and then it moves there. Okay, so it stays and it moves there, but still you can see a little bit movement is there. It goes a little forward, a little backward. The reason is that you can see there is a curve. So if you want to apply anything without a change, it need to be flat. Okay, so let's do that. How we can do this? We have to make this flatter. So how you can make it flat? You can select this. You can see that you have two Bezier corners, and you can move around these Bezier corner, okay, with your moving tool, and then you can make it flat. But maybe it is not accurately flat. Okay, so what you can else do is that you can undo this, select these two, okay, and then there are some presets on the top to change the curve. Right now we are in the auto tangent. So whenever you make a keyframe, there will be a curve between, because your auto tangent is on. So what does the auto tangent do? it calculates the average value and then applies a curve. So to give a very smooth and nice result, it's like that's why it's always on auto tangent. But in some cases, like this case, we don't need auto tangent. Okay, so the value that we are looking for is the clamped tangent. What does the clamped tangent do? Whatever keyframes you will select should be more than one. So between those keyframes, leaving the first and the last curve, whatever is in between will become flat. The first and the last one will always stay same, but whatever is in between will become flat. So that's why if I will click on the clamp tangent, you will see that it's completely flat. So now if I will go through, you will notice that it is completely still and then it moves. Okay, before it was a little bit going backward and forward, but right now it's just only rotating because we didn't we didn't change anything like related to the rotation. Okay, so this is how you can do these kind of things with the graph editor. Other than that, let's go back to the translate Y tool, and you can see that you have here some change as well. The reason we got this change because our aeroplane is now staying, or it is like on hold between 20 and 30. That's why you have this these keyframes here. So you don't have to worry about this. Now notice how the keyframe is here, how this curve is here. Okay, if I zoom in and pan around, you will notice that this curve starts like this, like a mountain if you're looking at the mountain. Okay, so if the curve is starting in a slant position, that means it will start like faster. Okay, and where you have the curve becoming smoother, like here the curve is becoming smoother, not slant like this. So wherever you see the curve smoother, that means it will end, or when it will reach here, it will become slower. So slant, something like this, results in fast movement, and as smoother it will be slow, smooth. So this is basically like you are playing with the ease value of your curve. So if I click here, you will notice that I will get these handles here. So if I move this handle more upward like this, so now if I will play my animation, you will see that it starts slow also. Okay, now if I undo it, and now if I will play, you can see that it starts as quickly the animation plays. Okay, so this is, you can also change, and you can make it, you can change it from here as well. Okay, now let's do one thing here. Let's select all of these. Okay, and let's see one by one all these presets. Now we are in the auto tangent, so we don't have to worry about this one. Now let's see spline tangent. So if I select all of them and click on the spline tangent, okay, you will see that what happens here. Everything that is starting is now flat, but where you have most of the animation, that becomes curved, and where anything that is ending becomes flat. Okay, so it will be in this spline sort of form. Now let's see how the animation looks like if you have this form of curve. Okay, so if you will notice here, it starts faster, then ends also fast. Only smooth animation happens in this area, because here it is like a smooth curve, and there is a height as well. Okay, so now let's do undo, select them, and let's see the clamp tangent. Clamp we already did. So notice that leaving the first and the last, what happens if I press on the clamp? So actually the first last you have to leave it, otherwise it will clamp the first and last also. If I press this, you will notice that it clamps. Okay, next of the other things here, if you will see that if you don't want to work on all of it, so you can select these, and maybe if I want to apply spline, so these will be only spline. So now the animation will be better than before. Okay, but I don't want that. I want to keep it as it is. Other than that, we have here linear tangent. If you press linear, everything becomes straight. Now if everything becomes straight, that means there will be a continuous speed. So there is no change in speed. It will look very robotic. Okay, so if you will play this, So there is no slow and slow out except when it comes down, because it was on the height. Okay, so it actually flattens your curve, and it makes it a constant speed. So let's undo this one. And then you have others like flat tangent. So if I will press flat, so everything will become flat. Okay, it's more or less like the clamp, but clamp works between curve and the flat. So half of it is keep it flat, half of it keep it curved. Okay, let me undo this one. Then this one is quite interesting, step tangent. So if I press step tangent, you can see there is a step. Now this is not quite used for animation like these. Why? If I press this, you can see that it jumps. Okay, so it's basically like on and off. So when I'm here, it moves forward, and when I reach here, instead of smoothly going up, it jumps in the air. Just notice. Okay, and when it reaches here, instead of going down, it jumps down and then jumps down here as well. Okay, so it's like on and off. So basically this kind of animation or step tangents you use for on and off animation, like bulbs or robots or those kind of things. Okay, so this is pretty much, you have the stuff. You have like a plateau tangent. So if you press the plateau tangent, it's basically what it do is that the one which is mostly affected, okay, will be averaged out according to the others. Okay, so same thing here we will have is in the rotate Z. This is how it is rotating. It rotates from here. So if I move the rotation up, so you can see that these are the degrees of the rotation. Before I was on something between 150 degrees to 200 degrees. If I will move it up, it will rotate more from here to here, then it will not rotate. Okay, even if I were now, if you don't want any rotation in the end, so what you can do is that you can select these two and you can apply clamp on it. Okay, or I think better is to apply flat tangent on it. You can move this one 10 down. Okay, so here you will see it will rotate because the rotation is happening here, and wherever there is something flat, there is no rotation. So this is one other way to do work with this one. So whenever you are working on animation, try to work with the curves. Try to manipulate your animation using the curves. Use these like presets, or you can move around by your own. You can use these handles to create your own animation or your own ease in and ease out, slow in and slow out, so that you can have a realistic animation. So now if you will see, I have changed this to this. Now let's see how the animation works like. Okay, so it animates like this, and instead of continuing, it moves back to the animation part like this. So this is the end of part A of animation. Next class we will move to part B of animation, and we will continue from that part.